Hello everyone, and welcome to this quick tutorial on how to set your pictures up for our Epson poster printer. For this tutorial, you will need to provide the photos that you would like to print. If you have them saved to Google Drive, download them to the computer now. If they exist on a flash drive, insert the drive into the side of the Mac's keyboard if you haven't already. Once you get your photos where they need to be, we're going to open Illustrator. On your bottom dock down here, you'll find the Adobe Illustrator icon, the big A and the little I. Click here. This is the Illustrator home screen. It has lots of potential templates, but right now we want to make our own. So we are going to click New File up here in the corner. This is the most important window, as it will determine most of the quality of your prints. I recommend using the first page of the Library Technology and Innovation Guidebook on how to set up your photos for the library poster printer as a checklist or comparison. You can find them on the wall beside the makerspace entrance. Alright, the first thing we want to note is the units of measure. Here we want it to be inches. There's a variety of things that it could be, but inches is the easiest to work off of. Next, we're going to set the width of our canvas. No matter the dimensions of your desired prints, this will always be 44 inches because our poster printer always prints at 44 inches wide. This tutorial is meant to show you how exactly to take advantage of this space. The third step is to put the height of your canvas in this bottom box here. In order to get the most out of yours, you might have to do a little math. For example, the photo I want printed has the dimensions 13 by 26, which means I could set my canvas to a 13-inch height and get one print for about $5, this bottom canvas here. But I could also set my height to 26 inches and get 3 prints for about $10. Another thing to consider is if one of your photos has a near white background, such as this one. You may have to add trim marks, which I will get into later. However, if you think you have photos with super light backgrounds, it may be a good idea to add 1 inch to your height. This in mind, enter your height dimension here. I'm going to set mine to 26. Under Advanced Options, there are 2 things we need to set. The box under Color Mode should be set to RGB, not CMYK. This is the mode that our printer reads best and prints the most true to color-wise. Under Raster Effects, select 300 ppi. This means that there are 300 pixels per inch of your picture. That is a lot, and to the human eye, that many pixels creates a seamless picture. You are welcome to set the ppi higher, but be warned that more pixels increase your file size, are microscopic to the human eye, and the more there are, the more room for machine error there is. I suggest staying under 600 ppi at most. The last thing to double check is that orientation is set to landscape, unless your height surpasses width in size. Then you may want to select portrait. And the very last thing is to make sure that you only have one artboard, otherwise things could get a little confusing. Once you've entered and changed all the appropriate information, go ahead and click Create. Illustrator should generate a blank canvas at the dimensions you've requested. Now for the fun part, we get to add your pictures. From the top toolbar, click File and Place. Find the selection window at the top of the pop-up. If you downloaded your photos from Google Drive, you'll likely be able to find them in the folder labeled Downloads. After selecting the location your files are in, navigate to the picture that you want to place. For me, it will be this SSP10 JPEG. Double-click to open it on your canvas. You should now see a cursor with a tiny version of the picture you selected. Click anywhere to place it. I usually try to place it in the left-hand corner here. To get the most out of your space, you may have to rearrange your photo a little bit. To do this, make sure your picture is selected. This blue box here, called a highlight, shows us that your photo is selected. To rotate it, hover near the corner of your picture until your cursor turns to a double-headed arrow like this. Holding Shift, click and drag until your photo or the highlight is in the orientation you want it. Let go of the mouse before you let go of Shift. To move your photo, hover near the center of your picture until your cursor looks like this. Click and drag it to where you want it. If you have a photo with a background that appears light, you may want to add trim marks. Make sure that your photo is highlighted in blue, as I mentioned before. If not, click on it. From the upper toolbar, select Object, and then create trim marks. This process will create faint trim marks that will appear beside your photo and make it easier to cut along in the future. The reason we added an inch to our canvas height was to provide room for these marks to exist outside of the picture. We have two beautiful corn pictures to work with here. We could add a totally new corn picture, or we could do a duplicate of one of these. I am going to duplicate the first one that we placed. To do this, select the picture that you would like to duplicate by clicking on it. Once it's highlighted in the blue box, go ahead and right-click near the center of the picture. Click Copy. Then in our blank space over here, we're going to right-click and click Paste. Now we have a brand new version of the same picture. This saves us a lot of movement and orientating that we had to do earlier. And this time we can just pick it up and move it to fill that space. Last thing we want to do is make sure that there is no white space between our photos and edges. In order to check on this, hold Command on your keyboard and plus to zoom in. Here I can see there's a sliver of white space to the left of my picture, and a bit larger sliver of white space at the bottom of my picture. To the left, white space is okay, but on your top and bottom, there should be absolutely no white space or it will mess with your dimensions. In order to fix this without moving your picture entirely too much, you can click on your picture to select it and use the arrow keys on your computer to move it just barely down until the white space is gone. It's better to have your picture hang off a bit than have white space. In order to zoom out, hold Command and press minus on the keyboard. In order to save your work for printing, from the upper toolbar, click File. If this window comes up, press Save on your computer. Go ahead and name your file something that you're going to remember. You may want to print this again later. I'm going to name mine 3 Corn Prints. Now, there's a couple things we're going to want to change here. Next to Format is the most important one. Go ahead and click the arrow keys beside Adobe Illustrator and select Adobe PDF. Next to Where, make sure it's saving somewhere that you can access it again later. Remember, when you turn the computer off here in the library, it will erase everything that has been saved to the computer itself. So you're probably going to want to save it to a flash drive or save it to your Google Drive later. Once you've changed those things, go ahead and click Save. From the next pop-up, uncheck Preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. This will preserve space in your flash drive and make the file easier for our printer to read. Press OK when this pop-up comes up. If you want to save this file so that you can edit it later, I suggest saving it again as an Illustrator file. But for now, to print, we just need the PDF.